Ferdinand has not been as aggressive as a breeder as I'd like, and it's time to up his competition. The crazy thing is I don't think it's because of capacity. He's got the capacity, I imagine, to breed 40 or 50 gilts. I think he thinks he's more monogamous than he should be. You see, a lot of times we'll have gilts or sows cycling at the same time. They're only receptive for 2 or 3 days, and if they're not bred then, they'll cycle again in another 3 weeks. Ferdinand, if he finds one cycling, he'll breed them 15 or 20 times in a few hours, and he won't breed the others. And so my plan is to add a second boar. One, to increase the competition between the breeding boars. Yes, there'll be a little bit of fighting, but I think it'll work out okay. And two, to increase our herd genetics. How do we choose which pigs are going to become our breeders? It's a simple but complicated answer. For the first time since farrowing, I'm keeping some of these boarlings that we're breeding as breeders. It's about more than just producing more pigs. It's about more than just selecting fast-growing, strong piglets and then breeding those genetics. It's about shaping the herd genetics for years to come, for pigs that farrow well on pasture, pigs that have excellent mothering instincts, good legs, good body shape, produce lots of meat, and forage really well on our pastures. Even though I monetize the farm with our pigs, the goal of the farm is to increase the soil health, to increase the ecosystems above the ground and below the ground for wildlife and for a better environment for all animals as well. So we need pigs that can help us achieve that goal. They need to be able to forage well, not just to gain weight on forage, which we need them to reduce our feed costs and reduce our reliance on monoculture agriculture. But we also need our pigs to forage well so that they return a lot of those nutrients back to the soil. There are generally 2 stages in development of determining whether or not we're going to breed certain pigs. The first stage we can tell right off the bat about the time their breeding ages. And so in addition to looking for body conformation and good muscle development and that kind of thing, growth rates, we look for gentle pigs. This is Ferdinand, our boar. He's pushing 650 pounds, a little less than normal, but he's been doing a lot of breeding. I don't want to have to worry about somebody being in the pen with the pigs. And I'm always careful when I bring people into the paddocks with the pigs. Even Ferdinand, as gentle as he is, he could easily hurt them, not meaning to, just trying to get away. Likewise, I want my sows to be protective, but I also want them to trust me. One of these new Berkshire gilts right here was raised as a show pig. She's exceptionally well-tempered. She loves getting her belly rubbed, as you can tell. She's pregnant, and she's got an excellent temperament. Out of the front of the gate, she is prime breeding stock. In that first stage, just because of her temperament, she grows well, she's foraged well on pasture since she's been on the farm, and I'm real pleased with her. Yeah, you got some mammary gland development, don't you? Number 20, right here, comes from good mothering stock. This is one that we birthed on the farm. She comes from good mothering stock. She's not aggressive, but she doesn't particularly enjoy being rubbed and petted on either. She came from a litter of piglets, though, that produced really well marbled meat, performed well on pasture, and has good parent stock. That's what I'm looking for in that first stage of development. Do they work well in our system? Do they respect the electric fences? Do they perform well on pasture with the cover crops that we grow, foraging well while reducing our grain costs? And are they well tempered? If so, that's an excellent start for them to become breeding pigs on our farm. And a large portion of our gilts we can save for breeders, up to 20%, but usually it's about 5 or 8% of our gilts are actually going to become breeding stock for us. Before we talk about that second stage of selection, let's go cut some forage for the pigs that we're training to the electric fence. Hey pigs! And you can tell that I just dropped that little bit of grass that I cut and raked up for them. It's not the most nutritious of the forages, but right now I'm not even trying to get the pigs to gain weight on their forages. I'm just trying to keep them eating it, exploring it. Their cecum is smaller, so they're not going to be able to process a whole lot of forage right now. But in this group, I think I've got 4 males that have not been castrated, and let's talk about them a little bit. So the one that's looking right towards me, I don't think he's been castrated, but he will be soon, and you can tell that he's got a little bit of hump in his back. I don't like that. That's not a good kind of genetic thing that I want to pass on. The one with a patch on his left eye, the black patch on his left eye with a white face, he hadn't been cut either. And then you can tell that there are 3 black with white striped shoulders on their front. Those come from that Duroc sow over there. There's one of them right there. She's an excellent mother. They've fared well. And there are 2 males there. One of them I will keep as a breeder and test him out. I'm not sure which one yet. I want to see how he performs, but I'm keeping one of them primarily because they've been foraging really, really well, but also because they have different genetics from some of these others. Now, there's a gilt in that group as well. She is an excellent forager. In fact, she was tearing up some chicory and loving it. My point being is that there are some things we can tell from the early on in the pigs' lives, whether they're going to be good breeders or not. Females, we don't alter them at all. And of course, the males, if they're not going to be breeders, we're going to castrate them. It doesn't mean that they're going to get a chance to become breeders, but I won't castrate those when we wean them. I'll see how they perform on pasture and how their body condition lines up. So if we've got pigs that are performing well on our pasture, if they're producing a lot of good, high quality meat, if their temperament's good, and if they work well in our system, then I'll give the best of those a chance to breed. But the second stage of whether they become a breeder or not is how well they conceive, whether they make good mothers or not. Now, teat count is not always an indication of fertility, of course. However, if you have a pig that has 19 piglets, as we have had before, and only has 12 teats, the most piglets she'll wean, in my experience, is 12 piglets. Most importantly, I'm not all that concerned about how many pigs they farrow or they birth. I'm more concerned with how many piglets they wean. If they can't get them weaned, it doesn't matter if they have 100 piglets. They're not going to work well in my system, especially if they lay on them or anything else. I bought a Hampshire sow with good genetics. She had farrowed once before and had weaned 8 piglets, I believe, as a gilt, which is not bad. She performed well. She gained even more weight. Not overly fat, but she gained weight. However, she wasn't able to wean any of them. None of them actually nursed. She just popped them out around the little paddock that she was set up in. Every single one of them died. We tried bottle feeding, but if piglets don't get colostrum in the first couple hours, they're not going to survive. They may drink and eat for the first day or two, but eventually they'll wither away and die. And Socks was an excellent pig, but she was a horrible mother. And for the health of the herd, I don't need those kind of genetics on my farm. So I culled her. And mothering instincts are critical. One of the biggest issues with confinement raised hogs over the years is they have not been breeding for mothering instinct because gestation crates were there to protect piglets and keep them safe. For me, it is important to protect the piglets and keep them safe. That's why we tried to bottle raise babies. But for the health of the herd, it's imperative that we have pigs that are healthy. It's important that we have pigs that are strong. It's important that we have sows with good mothering instincts. I'll give more gilts tries because I'm always surprised. After all, our best gilt on the farm is Midnight. She's a Hampshire with apparently a little bit of Duroc genetic in her. She is an excellent mother. She consistently weans 10 or more piglets every time, 13 last time. She's gentle, trusting. It's hard to beat those type of genetics, and she thrives on pasture. And she was born in a barn from show pig genetics. I've never kept a boar. For the most part, we've talked primarily about the gilts for a good reason. Those are normally the ones we're choosing. But for our breeding boars, one, I want to diversify some genetics, and I'll give them a try. If one of these new boars produces piglets that don't perform very well, I'm gonna get rid of them. I plan on keeping 2 boars, Ferdinand for now, and another boar with some slightly different genetics to increase the diversity, but also to increase the competition. I plan to keep him and Ferdinand together most of the time and bring the gilts or the sows to them. There's also some data that suggests that the competition among breeding boars, even though there's a risk of fighting, the competition among breeding boars increases fertility rates. We'll find out. And then for some of Ferdinand's daughters, of course, we need different genetics if we're going to breed them and keep those babies. The issue is another 2 or 3 years off. So the future of our pasture pig operation depends primarily on the pigs we choose to breed.